a hurricane was here today, so we can talk about that.
World-renowned, globe-trotting troubadour, James Patrick Dalton.
I go by James Dalton, but there's a whole backlog of J-Pat-ness, I guess, that exists. That we're talking, King, and I'm down at the beach in Jersey right now, and where most of the people around here will still call me J-Pat. I mean, I was out tonight, I played harmonica with some people, and everyone was calling me J-Pat. It was very funny. It was, back in that life. But yes, the answer to your question is appropriately. I guess I use James Dalton more often now.
So when people usually ask me, "Oh, who's that?" They see one of your CDs, that is James Dalton, J-Pat.
Yeah, now you can do that. James Dalton's the way to go. The last album I released was under the name James Dalton. So I guess, yeah, James Dalton is the one. Let's use that.
And then I follow it up by saying this guy is a troubadour. Because they say, what does he do? I said, he's a worldwide troubadour. He literally travels around with an instrument, mostly mandolin, guitar. I've seen you with multiple. But this guy literally travels around and plays shows. He plays music.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I don't usually follow up on, but is the Indy Solutions thing. You're also have your own company, and you're CEO of Indy Solutions.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
See, Indy Solutions has been going into very interesting directions. I have for those that don't know Indy Solutions started off as an idea for me that, I spent a lot of time working in the arts and entertainment, King, for a little while. I can call you King, right? I can call you. You know what? I gotta say, there's not many times out in the world you can say, King. I can call you King, right? King.
Yeah.
And, there's few occasions where I'm going to be sitting down with the King of Sweden and be like, King Leopold. I can call you King, right? King.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the Indy Solutions is it's a consulting company. That's what it really is at its base. At its heart, it's really just a very simple, easy consulting company. Now, that said, consulting is a very huge thing. It's a very big deal. You can tell people how to do anything. You can actually do this stuff for them. I mean, when you work in the arts and entertainment, the boundaries and the lines of what you actually do are so blurred. You can own a production company, but you can service so many different facets of the industry with it that it's really really what it is. It's just a go-to company for anything. It's just a go-to service company, and that's kind of what Indy Solutions is. Lately, what I found is I've been helping out a lot of blues artists lately. I find myself currently I'm one of the managers at a place called Terra Blues in Greenwich Village in New York City, and it's got a big name. The club does, and I'm one of the managers now. And I find myself surrounded by a lot of blues artists that are looking for interesting gigs or are looking to get a leg up. So like all artists are, we're all looking for a leg up. But I just happen to be surrounded by a lot of blues guys now. So at the moment, I'm helping out blues artists. Indy Solutions is dialing a few different people into new gigs. I helped a friend of mine get a gig on a cruise ship, if you can imagine. Like this cruise ship built a club, a blues club on the ship, right? Like there's all these different things, but there's the restaurants, there's the tiki bars. I mean, they have all this different entertainment, but really they actually built a blues club called Fat Cats, and I kind of helped him get that gig. So right now, Indy Solutions, like I said, has been helping out blues guys.
They're building a ton of new boats. This sounds like one of the newer ships you're working there. It's good.
He got on their maiden voyage. They launched out of France. Before this ship did anything else, this guy was the first guy to play in this club. Like he got to be the first guy. And forever he'll have that. This place is this ship's gonna have so many people on it for so long. And just like you said, you're right. The cruise industry is doing very well. They're not doing bad at all. I worked for a ship company as a troubadour, just like you were mentioning before. I worked for a company called the Viking Line, which is a Finnish company, pronounced Viking Line, and it was a ferry cruise, which was not like you're a week out and hit a bunch of islands. Like my cruising was being done between Helsinki and Stockholm, or just between Sweden and Finland, maybe a different city. And they were overnights, and it was similar in a lot of ways to your basic, like cruise ship. But at the same time, it was only like one overnight run, or maybe 2 nights. Maybe you went to Sweden and then you came back to Finland the next day. So maybe you had 2 nights. So it wasn't like you were on the boat for 5 days. You could get off the boat every day. It was just one trip. So it was a short-term cruise. But for the people that worked on the boats, I worked on the boat. I lived on the same boat for 2 weeks or 20 days or 30 days. And it would just be going back and forth all the time. And I worked, actually, my title, if you can imagine, King, was actually troubadour. Like, that was what it said on my work visa.
That's fantastic.
Like, literally, that was my job title. I had to write the word troubadour into my work visa application. If you can imagine,
That's fantastic.
It was totally fantastic. It was like out of a movie,
Now,
so there you go.
Speaking of the first man, you mentioned something back there. Who was the first man, I guess, or woman, or act that really made a miniature James Dalton kind of pick his head up like a squirrel and be like, "Ooh, what's that?" And I guess I'm speaking musically here. Was there a particular act where you just were like, "Oh, that's what I want to do"? Because not everyone does the troubadour thing. You got guys that are in studios. You got guys that just want to play live. You got which really, in I think, at the truest sense, is really what you do. You got guys though that combine those. You've got people that really mail it in and just sample stuff. I mean, you got a whole range basically of people who make music, but you still, I think, have a very unique way. But what was the first guy for you?
Oh, man, King, this is hard.
Yeah.
I think, well, when I was a little kid, I'll start like this. When I was a little kid, I was in first grade when this happened. I saw a commercial on TV, and I think the first artist, believe it or not, to get me interested in being a musician, I think, or maybe not it's being a musician, but being into music, of actually asking my parents for records. Because this was the late '70s, with early '80s, late '70s. It was actually Elvis Presley, honestly. I think I saw a commercial on TV for an Elvis collection. You said 1995 or 995 to to the TV, to the infomercial, and they'll send you an Elvis record in 4 to 6 weeks.
Sure, you get a whole library. You get a library of the King's best stuff.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Right.
Which is something I think you should do, actually. Get an 1-800 commercial, right? And just play all your songs in the commercial, King.
Man, you got a point,
all
man.
the King's greatest hits.
You got a point. Yeah, you got a point.
No, but I think that was, I think, the first guy that got me into actually wanting to have music, wanting to have records from people was Elvis Presley. But I think, I think probably there was so much different music going on when I was a kid. I mean, there was, my father listened to a lot of music. I mean, there was a lot of different music on TV, and I had a little radio that I would listen to, and I had a lot of stuff. And I don't know. I think I came out of the womb wanting to be a performer. I mean, when I was a little kid, I liked singing. When you're in elementary school and the teacher, the chorus teacher comes in and says, "Oh, well, I'll sing this," and of course the teacher says to everybody, "You sound great." And either you believe it or you just think that the teacher's telling everybody they sound great, because they tell all kids they sound great. No one wants to say, "You guys are all great, but you over there, you're really good." You don't say that to a bunch of 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds. So I mean, I always felt encouraged, and I always wanted to perform. I always wanted to tell jokes and sing songs and put on a dance number or whatever. I always wanted to do that up until this very moment. And it's always been like that. So I guess I could say that it was Elvis that really struck my mind about music itself. But again, I think I always wanted to just be a performer in general, no matter what it was. It wasn't any one person in particular. Maybe it was a picture in a magazine, or maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was the Pointer Sisters. I don't know. Maybe it was Solid Gold Dancers. I don't know. I can't really think of one specific person. I don't know.
What are your performing mottos? Is it a show a day, or do you have some sort of prescribed theory that you're working under, or is it how do you handle that in your brain, or the urges to play?
Well, you ever see the movie The Wrestler?
Sure.
I'm sure you did, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have seen it as well. I think there's something very special about that movie.